So, AMB is the greatest archive anyone could ever ask for.
You know, of all the books I've read, of all the other online tutorials I've seen, this was the missing key.
Every video is like packed with this information that I would never be able to get anywhere else. So I would say this is the greatest resource for learning animation.
For me, A&B Animation Library is hands down the best animation learning resource that I've seen. I've tried all the tutorials, I've gotten all the books. I've never been able to really grow until I found A&B.
And it's incredible. I've only just begun it, but I definitely am getting more from that than I did from my 1.5 years of college.
I've noticed definitely that my animation has improved a lot, and it's more alive than ever. And what I also like about his animation training is that you also gain real confidence.
Real Animator Training Library is unequivocally the best resource for animation, 2D animation, traditional hand-drawn animation that I've seen.
So I wholeheartedly recommend the A&B Real Animator Training Library to anybody who wants actual knowledge and actual applicable concepts to create their own animation and to move forward in the field of animation and to set your work above those that are just kind of teaching themselves and not learning these tried and true classic concepts.
A&B is motivated by his students' successes and improvements. He's a great teacher, a great animator with over 20 years experience in the industry, so you can't really get much better than that. I strongly recommend him to anybody.
I'm thinking on how to put in words what I feel about it. I love that. It approached me from my dream of becoming an animator. Every cent I paid in there was worth it.
I like that the library is structured. I can go back and watch it anytime I want to. And he's just got so much knowledge. And I just highly recommend it to anyone who's out there looking to learn traditional 2D animation.
So thank you, MB, so much. And thank you so much for all you done for me.
So, are you gonna join the library?
Hello and welcome once again to another edition of AMB Animation Livestream, Real Animator Livestream in the face of artificial art and artificial fake animation. So those of you that want to learn the real stuff and who consider themselves to be the real deal, and if your guest has disconnected and is reconnecting, so do let me know how the stream is. If there is if you're suffering any problems or not, that may be a minor glitch. I hope it's not a sign of things to come. But we are going to be talking about timing, the real timing, not the kind of fake. I see a lot of these videos in the thumbnails, and I never click on them because I just look at the length, and they're like 5 minutes, and they claim to explain the timing chart. Okay, well, if you think you just need a 5-minute video to learn and understand the timing chart and go, yeah, I got it. You're like a child learning the alphabet, never learning to write, never putting it into practice, and going away and thinking that you can write a novel. That's how people treat animation. These very important fundamental things that they want to learn, they watch a 5-minute video and go, yeah, I got it. And then they carry on like a child, drawing their complicated comic book, anime, Disney characters, not understanding any fundamental rules on how to move them and animate them, and completely not putting into practice any of the concepts that, you're not going to get from a 5-minute video. You may get an overview. Somebody can go through the whole alphabet in less than 5-minute video. Doesn't mean you learn how to implement the alphabet in writing. It's incredibly foolish. But that's why there's so many fake animators eagerly embracing AI in this day and age. Artificial animation for the artificial soul. But we got some real souls in the chat looking to be real, ready to be real. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing. So I've just got my friend Cameron online in the chat at the moment. Thank you for letting me know about the stream, Health Brother. And we are going to go onto the other screen. And I have locked down the Jafar that we've been animating over these various streams. So I've locked down what seem to be the keys and the breakdowns, but I'm going to be breaking it down further. And I touched on the timing chart a little bit in the last stream, where you can see some remainders of it there. But that was just because somebody in the chat, Saran, wanted to know a little bit about the chart. So I jumped ahead and talked about it there, but I'm going to be talking in more greater detail about the chart here and about what real timing is when we talk about the chart. Now, before we start, it's important, if you're ready to be real, to understand the real approach, because you will no doubt see a lot of fake videos. The information might not be fake, but 5, 10, even an hour really, because it's about the person watching it. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 1 hour. You got to be doing these on a daily basis. You got to be, and not just doing it, you've got to be actively engaged. You've got to be actively engaged with trying to understand this thing while you draw. You see, I haven't drawn. If we look at this animation here, and you watch the last few live streams, I haven't really drawn any timing charts while doing this key animation. No timing charts. And I could proceed to in between it and break it down. We've got some animation of Chief Powhatan here. No timing chart, right? No timing chart. We've got some, I've got roughing out Amelia. No timing chart. So what is this timing chart? Why do we talk about the timing chart? Well, the timing chart is predominantly there to instruct in-betweeners, because this is going to, if you're working in a team, it's instructing in-betweeners about where to fill in the gaps, because they're going to be filling in the gaps, right? But the fact of the matter is, even as I'm animating through this pose-to-pose and straight-ahead manner, I'm all the time thinking, because this is just a visual representation of the animator's thought process, or rather approach, and ultimately intention for the timing, which equals also the weight and the realism, of the illusion. So watching a 5-minute video where somebody draws a little ball here and a little ball here, and they put one in the middle and they say, okay, this is half, and then they draw a little ball here, a here, and say, okay, this is third. And then they draw a ball here and a ball here, and they say, okay, this is favoring, right? And then they proceed to tell you what slowing in and slowing out is by halving and halving and halving and halving and halving and halving, and saying, oh, the ball's going to increase speed and slow down speed, and then on a third we may get rid of this one and it's going to jump, and then it'll slow down. We can put a half here because we've learned about half, and then we can keep halving and halving, and then they will talk to you about, oh, here's going to be like a favor. It's going to be so close to that key, and then we might put a third chart and jump all the way to the other third, and then jump again, and that's going to give a little kind of staccato effect. And then they make this in a 5-minute video, it gets 100K to almost 1 million views, right? But all those views are more or less, you know, if that many people watched it and understood it, you'd have 100,000 to 1 million amazing, great animators out there. But you have 100,000 to 1 million fools. 100,000 to 1 million fools, or just fakers. Fakers. What do I mean by fakers? Fakers is like you are doing what you're doing, which is basically you're like a child playing cops and robbers. You're trying to animate stuff that you don't really know how to animate. You've no interest in the fundamental principles. You kind of know that you should really know and you're curious, but you just can't help just playing around. And then you go and you watch a video going, I should really try to understand that and apply it to my work. And you watch a 5-minute video, and then you probably spend maybe about another 5 minutes trying to get your head around it. And then you try to apply it to your work, and you apply it in the most naive, foolish manner, quite frankly. And then you carry on doing what you're doing, and you drift back into your little comfort zone of drawing your anime character and spending hours on drawing one frame and getting every little detail in the eye and thinking that that's your animation. Of course, I'm kind of exaggerating the foolishness a little bit, but I'm wanting this point to hit home. I'm wanting this point to hit home and to open eyes to people who actually really want to be real, to the real animators. You know, if you want to be real and do this for real, then you need to understand this stuff. Otherwise, you may as well be full fake and play around with AI, right? Just stop fighting with your inner demons and go and, you know, surrender to the true fakeness and embrace fake animation, fake AI. But if you really want to get better, you really want to learn, you really want to be real, then you got to do this thing properly. Because just watching five minutes of a video like this is like me learning a few words in French, je m'appelle, my name is, but not learning and saying, oh, the French have the same alphabet to the English, so I'm going to just make up the spelling. Je m'appelle. All right, yeah, that sounds about right. Not even knowing that in French it's actually, I don't even know how to spell it, like it's been a long time, but like maybe it's just like that, je m'appelle. Maybe it's one A or 2 P's. I've got to go away and research that and really learn how to spell it properly. And then I've got to actively start using it in sentences if I want to write in French to get better at French. But no, people in animation watch a 5-minute video about this, saying the real best way to understand timing charts, or a 10-minute video, or even if it's a half-hour video, half an hour, wow, what a lot of time that is, right? They do that, and then they go away, and they can't make it fit into what they're doing, which is their little kind of let's play animator, all right? And basically they whine and they moan and they bitch that they don't have what it takes, and you know, they're just not good enough, and I'll never understand the timing chart. You'll never understand it, my friend, because you never tried to understand it really. It's like if I spent 1 minute a day standing on my hands, right, for 1 year, that would only be 365 minutes on my hands. That's not that long to really be competent. You know, you might get used to it and get better at it. 365 minutes is still a fair amount of time to get familiar with something, but most people don't even spend 365 minutes on this. Let's get real. Let's get absolutely real about timing charts, timing, and why, you know, timing is the first cause rule. In the Real Animator Training Library, we start with timing. Timing is the be-all and end-all, right? It's the 3 fundamental laws of movement. Timing, slow in and slow out, which go hand in hand with timing, right? And then arcing. These 3 fundamental laws of movement are what all the other 9 laws rest upon. Everything moves in an arc, everything has a time, and that time has a certain space of the frames between, which creates the illusion of weight, speed within that movement. And that's what it is. And I'm watching this video and then thinking, oh yeah, with this vague concept, without actually... Now, you're going to watch me on this live stream put this chart into practice with this extremely advanced, high-grade, multi-million-dollar grade, because that's how much you go and look at the budget for the movie Aladdin. And here I've knocked this out effortlessly on a live stream. We're using real animation techniques. And it needs to be timed. It looks nice like this, so but obviously it needs in-betweens and it needs to be timed. Now you're going to watch me time that. And you're going to learn a lot while you watch me time that. But here's the reality of the situation. Most people will not even know how to time this ball bouncing up and down, give it personality, give this simple shape weight, personality, make it float, make it become a bubble, make it become 1,000 kilos heavy. Most people will not understand how to do it with one simple shape like that. What kind of arc? Is it a pendulum swinging from side to side? What if the pendulum goes in a figure of 8? Where shall we put the weight? How do we time it? How do we make this ball bounce on a little assault course? What about if it falls in some water and bobs along? How do we time it? What do we do? Most people haven't even been through this, and they want to jump onto this. Now, I hope I've kind of spelled that out, because I see some people expecting to grasp timing as if it's just a matter of drawing a chart and understanding a chart, as if it's so, something that you can do in an afternoon. It's not something you do in an afternoon, my friends. It's something that takes, focused time and effort of engaged action into achieving that particular goal. That's extremely important. So let's go ahead and talk about timing, this thing, but then I'm gonna talk to you about a better way that you can understand timing easier afterwards. So let's jump in here. Now here we have our action of Jafar, who's going to anticipate with this little kind of sneer before he turns his head. Now I would like this to last around 1 second. So already in my mind, I'm thinking about 1 second. We talked about this a little last time, but I had fewer frames to illustrate. Now I've got more I can illustrate. So I'm going to go in here and say, okay, well, maybe this is going to be about 1/4 of a second. Maybe this can be about 1/4 of a second. So I'm going to start 1 here, and I'm going to jump to frame 7. Because I'm working 1, 3, 5, 7. So 1 plus 6 is 7. So I'm not working from 0. For some reason, us hand-drawn, real deal animators, we always started at number 1 rather than doing everything on the computer with frame 0, right? So this is from my paper days. Remember, paper is king. So we have 1 and we have 7. And I'm going to look here and I'm going to say, okay, if I really wanted to over-animate this, I may change the arc and have him arc down and up, but that's overcooking it. So let's keep it simple. I'm going to have it to be quite linear, because it's a small movement. So I'm going to use what we call a half chart for that. I'm going to go, a half chart is halfway in between. So 1, 3, 5, 7. Now, 1, 3, 5, 7 means uneven, right? So if I put the 5 here, right, then it means I'm going to do what? It means I'm going to slow out. If with 3, which could be something what we want to do, But this kind of movement, if we think about it, it's more like a... So I want to slow in a little bit more. So I'm going to change that, and I'm going to say 1, 3, 5, 7. Notice how I'm working on what we call twos. And we never work in the software. I hate that word. The software. AI could be software, right? Fake. We never work on 12 FPS. Please don't do that. That's dumb. All right? I'm not going to mince my words. We work like the real animators on 24. Why? Right? Well, let's say if I'm planning this animation on twos. We should always plan, and I know it'll work on twos. But let's say I just want to ease out of it a little bit. I've got 2 there, okay? And then I want to ease in a little bit more. I've got 6 there, right? And then I can leave 3 and 5. But then 3 and 5 will feel a bit staccato, so it works better on twos. Now, learning what works better on twos and planning on ones is a whole different kettle of fish. And I'm just going to confuse you if I jump and talk about that. So we're going to stay on twos. So I'm doing what's called here a half chart, and I'm slowing into here, and we have got frame 7, right? Now let's go ahead and implement it. There are some people probably watching the video going, yeah, but I've seen in that video, I know what halfway is. I know that halfway is, you just put it halfway. You might know it, but how often have you done it? I know how to stand on my hands, all right? But I seldom practice it, which is why I suck at it, all right? I can barely stand on my hands for more than 5 seconds without needing a wall. Why? Because I haven't practiced enough at it. You've got to actually actively engage and spend focused time and effort on the thing. You don't claim you know it. And I know that most people with animation are like this. Otherwise, there'd be a lot better independent animation out there on the internet by real people actually really doing it, not just jumping for the fakery of AI, right? The fake, what do I call them? People with fake Rolex watches. The average Joe won't notice. Wow, man, that's a cool watch. You must be rich. Yeah, I'm wealthy. That's an AI animator. I'm an animator, man. Yeah, everybody loves what I do. That's it. But we want to be real. Right? We don't want to lie to ourselves. You guys like to draw. You guys you want to actually feel like you can do it. So we need to learn how to do it. So let's come in here and let's make drawing number 7. So drawing number 5. 3. Not even reading my own chart. So 3 says halfway. So let's be I'm just going to deal with the face. Now everything moves in an arc. Everything moves in an arc. So what I'm going to do is another thing. People are just too quick. This is a hilarious way. Some people would use something called place and trace, where they would trace the nose shape, right? Now imagine I've traced it on a fresh, like I've got a piece of paper in my hand and I'm putting it on top and tracing it. Then with my fresh piece of paper, I will, oopsie, I used the wrong color. Makes life a bit hard for me. So let's just say that I've traced it on a fresh piece of paper, and they would create their in-between drawing by moving this because they think they want to be solid. They think they want their animation to be solid. Ah, that's halfway. And sometimes they'll do it with the whole head. And that's why, cause and effect, we have a bunch of fakers who thought they were real animators, but they were playing with software, they were playing with symbols, because they feel they love the word tweening. Right? The computer does it for you. They were already AI They were already AI, and now they're crying because people are using AI instead of them. But you didn't really learn, pal. I'm sorry to break it to you. You didn't really learn. You did what people used to do who were incompetent. They used to trace the head like this, and they then used to think, let me make the halfway point. They used to manually do it on paper, and this is why Flash and all those software things taken off, because they thought, oh, look, it's halfway. It's halfway. But it creates this very mechanical, inorganic. OBS is disconnecting, reconnecting. Okay. Unfortunately, I'm getting a few connection problems on the stream, but hopefully they seem to come back quite quick. So just bear with me. So if we were slowing out on thirds, we would favor this line here. And if we were slowing in, we would favor this line. If we're going to have one halfway in between, we need to have a line that actually isn't a tracing of this line and not a tracing of this line. We need to have a line that actually sits somewhere in between. Now you can eyeball that line that sits somewhere in between. But a good way of doing it is to look at the little points here and here, and then you can make little points like that. And then I want to find the peak here, and the peak is there. So I'm going to put the peak round about here. So my 3 points are about here. And I found that halfway. Now look how this line, if I was to take this line and put it on top of this line, it's very different. If I'm going to take this line and put it on top of this line, it's very different. So we've got a real drawing in between there, a real drawing, not a rush job symbol line that, or something the machine is mechanically warping to make it feel. Now I get to the point where I don't need to draw these little points. I can eyeball it myself. So I eyeball these things myself. And the little, and to be a little bit loose with it. Now his nostrils also. He's inhaling. So as a human that knows I'm trying to create a feeling with the nose, I'm already going to kind of inhale that. And if I was a little bit of an animator rather than an in-betweener, this is an in-between phase I'm teaching you, I would deliberately open that nose just a little bit. Just to give it that little feel that, he's really going to be taking in some air and inhaling. And I'm putting those lines halfway in the middle there like that. So this is where the half chart is really coming into play. So I'm going to very quickly, I think I've given you enough information. We're going to do this half chart, and we're going to just do it on the face area here. I'm not even going to do the beard because we want to keep this moving and talk about other timing and other aspects. But hopefully I've already, now the mustache is a great one, right? So we've got the line of his mustache here, and we got the line of his mustache here, and it's squashing and stretching. So I'm going to look at this line and look at this line, and I'm going to find that point that exists between those two, and I'm going to put that there, and that's going to create my, and it follows the shape of the mouth, right? It doesn't just in between, this is halfway like this. It follows the shape of the mouth. So that's extremely important that we follow the shape of the mouth with the mustache. So let's just rough that in. And I'll do the eye. The eye is very subtle. There's just a little bit of room, so we can easily in between, halfway between there like that. So we've got that. The rest of it, the turban and all those things are very, it's really simple. It's really important to have solid drawings to create the illusion that this turban is solid, so that when we put something halfway, we don't lose the form and volume. It's quite solid, so a lot of these lines are very close together, so we're just going to kind of just half along the areas where they need to be. I'm not going to do that right now because it's just going to take time and stop the stream from moving. We want you to stay engaged. We want you to stay engaged with it. All right. Let's have a look at what that half does. Look at that. Look at the personality of that inhalation, that real sneering kind of the fact that Jafar kind of looks like myself. Okay, if any of you have got any comments, please do type them in the chat, and I'll be more than willing to assist you in that manner. So here we can now see that we're going to add in another in between here and here, which is really going to, let's show you what it looks like. It doesn't take very long. Let's look at the chart. We've got 1, 3, 5, 7. Let's show you the weight. Let's just deal with this head and do it. So we just need, if we look at the chart, we just need one frame. Again, that one frame is halfway between those. So 5 is simply halfway. So this is 3. Now we're going to slow in and we're going to do 5. So that's what we're going to do. So we're just going to deal with that area. So again, here, we're going to do the same thing. Now I'm just going to speed through this one because I've kind of done all of the explanation that we need. Now, there are times when the chart will vary for different body parts. But the main thing is that we remain focused that when we're creating our halves and drawing our halves, we're bearing in mind what it is that we're doing. Yes, we're in-betweening lines, and in-betweening lines is a simple thing when you got the light box, but you got to remember that this is a living thing, and those lines this line has to represent the mustache, and it's got to feel like it's where it needs to be. So I need to keep a look at the space, so like I'm missing that area there. Needs to come up there like that. Can you see how it's morphing and growing? But that's what we want, because this is squash and stretch. We want it to change volume because it makes it better. It's not a fake machine that's just sliding and moving things or adding a filter over a live action, or stealing another piece of animation and putting a Snapchat filter of whatever your design is on top of it. This is your line representing what it is you intend it to do. So here is the slowing. So we're slowing into that, right? So can we see how the sneer, and that's just a little anticipation before the look. And now there's going to be a sudden drop. So this, if we now look what I want, I now want to get from hair to hair to hair, right? To hair to hair. Now initially in my mind, I did that as a chart on thirds. So if we look at his nose, let me explain, right? So 7, for the meantime, we will call this 8 and this 9 because those aren't the numbers I'm really going to be dealing with. 7, 8, 9. That was a bad joke, right? And then, right, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right. Okay, so let's just do this. We can't call it, yeah, we'll call it 7, 8, 9. Right, so I'm going to do this. So I put, let's say that this is 8 and this is 9, right? Just so you understand. So I put 8 1/3 of the way away, close to 7, and 2/3 of the way away from 9. So here's a third, and it's 2/3 of the way away from number 9, and it's 1/3. So this is also what we can call like a little bit of slow out in a key sense. in a keying sense. So this is what we call a little bit of slowing out in a keying sense. So if we look at hair and hair, and we put on our light box, we can see that the previous nose was hair. The next frame nose is hair. And our nose is hair. And if we look, it's 1/3 of the way, and there's another space here, which could be like 2/3 of the way, and then we're there. So the nose is a giveaway, but we are closer to that. So when I was breaking down this animation to make it more, to add more life in that anticipation, I already thought about thirds. I already thought about the third spacing, right? So now it's easy. It's going to be easy if I was going to give this to an in-betweener. It's going to be easy for me to tell him how to get from hair to hair, because I need an in-between. Why do I need an in-between? I could jump down there and slow in, but I want to use more slowing out. I want to slow out some more. This is really talking about the law of slowing in and slowing out. So if I want to go from hair to hair, let's turn this into a breakdown. And let's make this a third chart for you to understand. So let's call this our breakdown. So I'm going to draw a third chart, knowing that I'm going to be working on thirds. And I'm going to call, I don't know what number I'm going to make this, but I want this to be, I want this one to be, yeah, so here you can see the third going on. I want this one to be around about the 1 second mark. So I want this to be frame 25. So 7 to frame 25, which is 1 second to get from hair to hair. That's what we want. So we want that to be around frame 25. So on the thirds, I want this to be like 9, 11, 13. Yes, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go 1/2 to slow out of there, frame 9. It's an in-between. Then this will be frame 11. This is my main breakdown. So this will be frame 11 because I'm slowing out of there. Right. Now halfway from 11 to 25 is going to be my next frame, which I'll call 13. And those are the two drawings I've done, because if I go on to hair, so the previous is 11, right? So this is frame 11, and this is frame 25. So I've put 13, because you can see his nose hair. Let's just color in his nose. It's almost, it's a little bit off, but it's, in my mind, if we look at the space of everything, even the beard, it's halfway between 11 and 25, okay? I'm putting frame 13. Now, obviously, 13 as a number is not halfway, but 13 is the halfway of the spacing between. And what I will do is then I will then turn this 15 and I will keep halving into 25, 17, 19, 21, right? 21 plus 4 is what? 25. So I might just drop to 21 and hold it for 4 frames, which will make it 25, right? Which will give me 1 second. So let me just explain this to you in a very easy manner. So we've got on a third chart here, 11, 13. Now we're going to jump to 13, which we've already done. So this is 13, right? Hasn't got any brackets because it's an in-between. It's a very nice looking in-between. Let's see, that's not 13. This is 13. So yeah, his eyes are a little bit opening. So no brackets on that. This is the key, 25. So we're going to look at that. We're going to go 13. Halfway is going to be 15. Then halfway from 15 is going to be 17. Then halfway from 17 is going to be 19. then halfway is going to be 21. And you know what? I might eliminate the drawing of 23 and hold for 4 frames because I feel that'll be a little bit better. So I can magnify that hair on 13 if I want to. I can go 15, 17, 19, 21, 25, right? And that's how it is. I won't have 24. Another way, you can just like indicate a super slow in by just doing that. So let's go in and put in some of these frames here so you can see it in motion. You can understand. So again, I'm going to very quickly, you've seen the thirds. So just to recap, 11 is a third, 13 is a third, and 25 is the endpoint. So these are thirds, 1, 2 between each. So 2 even thirds. Now this is important. When we are drawing half charts, it obviously is a very even, linear movement. Okay, I don't know, I lost my. And then we can change it and make it ease in or ease out at either end. But it's still, yeah, that's what'll give it weight. But the half is what makes it linear if we don't ease in and ease out. Now, if we treat a third chart without jumping the third, and we just have 2 thirds like that, it doesn't matter whether it's a half or a third. It makes no difference. It's still linear because there's an even spacing between all 3. So we can ease in and out at either end, and it'll kind of have the same effect of hair. What really gives thirds the power is the big jump. But hair, because I'm dealing with a more slower movement, a subtle bit of acting, but there's a lot of squash and stretch on the face, I've had to use thirds in a linear fashion. So these 2 thirds between these two keys, or 2 thirds, are giving me kind of like a linear movement on the turban and a linear movement on the nose. But the interesting stuff will happen with the mouth. Now this is again a little bit really like it's getting really, again, you might think, yeah, I get it, I understand it, but putting it into practice is an entirely different matter. So it's getting a little bit more complicated now, which is why, if you've missed my opening intro where I was a little bit kind of harsh with my words about people watching 5-minute videos thinking they understand the chart, you'll kind of start to get it now, right? Why I did that. So let's very quickly look at the timing of this thing as we put in these drawings here. So let's put in drawing number 13. Again, I'll only focus on the face and do it very quickly. I'm going to have to do it all over again off stream because, yeah, I'm doing this for your guys' benefit. So, so we've got 11, 13. We don't need one here. So we want 7, 9. We want to go between here. That's where the big jump is. Where the benefit of thirds is going to really matter. So we're going to do a half on the eyebrows. So here we see the eye shape here, the eye shape here. So I'm going to look at that point of the eye there, that point of the eye there, and I'm going to create my half, right? We've got to bear in mind the thickness, which I'm not focusing on at the moment. Here it's quite simple. Once we get the base of it down, we have that understood. The eyebrow again is a little bit trickier because we're introducing the other side of the other half of the face on this subtle head turn. But what we want to understand is this top of the eye is touching and this top of the eye is touching, and we don't want to lose that. We don't want to lose that. That retains the shape of the animation. Now I'm introducing a little bit of his other face. So I've got to use the nose line here to do that. This is why I talk about Picasso. Why Picasso is a genius, and how why people like Milt Kahl, real animators, real animators, were really appreciative of artists like Picasso, because the cubist, see, I'm getting, when you try to feel your way, you can lose volume. So I've got to just concentrate a bit. Right? So the cubists really were interested in seeing how to create dimension within 2D space. So here I'm going to just instinctively move through here, and I'll just do up to the beard, no more. So this line here, like this, comes down here. And then we have the mustache, which comes in here like that. That's enough. This line here. So the difficult part I'm saving till the very end here is the turning and introduction of the other eye. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do the halfway shape change of the ellipse, where I'm going to slowly introduce the other side. We're going to watch that, see how that works. And we're going to look at the halfway of the feather, because this is what really helps, and it's all about volume changing in an intelligent way. So now we're going to look at the introduction of the other eyebrow, which comes off that eye like this, and then we're going to have a little bit of the, see, my error is I'm growing it. It's attached to the turban. So we're going to have a line here like this. That's why so many animators like to scribble with a fat pen. We're going to have that eye shape on there like that. Now I'm going to test and see what that looks like. Perfect. Comes around there, creates a real sense of solidity. Now the final test is this turban. So the turban line is going to be coming halfway, curling into that, and we got it. We got it. So that's the real challenge. Getting that initial image of slowing out. We want to really slow in and slow out of that sneering position. The lovely Hervonia Baker is in the chat. I will be looking at the chat soon, so if you guys have some questions, please do fire away. So now we can see just how interesting the anticipation itself has become a very kind of like sneering, adding real second, that's what we call secondary action. If you'd like to know more about that, watch the previous live stream. It's still available on my channel. So there we are. You can see that nice action. So now we look at our chart. What's next? We look at 13. We've got 11. We've got 7. This is frame 9. It's frame 11, 13, 15. We've got to do 15, 17, 19, 21. Okay, so let's do 15. 15 is a half chart between here and here. So 15 is simply another halfway point. So we're going to find that halfway point. Now what I'm going to do from my previous experience of this is the illusion of 3 dimensions in the turning of that head and the turban. We need to create this line, which is the line that is the dividing line. Again, if we remember the whole Picasso style pictures where you have you can have a simple face like this, but then they'll do this, right? And then now it's the face from another angle, right? And then I'm not going to try and pretend to be Picasso because I can't, right? So, but you see, that's how this whole thing works. That's how this illusion works. By understanding that how to draw, and that's why drawing for animation and designing for animation is so much more different to doing it for comics and illustration. Yes, if you're doing a more kind of less animatable, heavily realism based character, or characters that are bodily proportioned in very realistic fashion like anime and those things, then yeah, you'll be hardly moving it in places and not doing these kind of subtle things with them. You'll be using more the place and trace, shift and trace. Now see, as I'm talking, I'm getting carried away and I'm losing my halfway. So I have to keep an eye, always keep an eye on that. This is how you can wander in your volumes. These are the things. So there's a lot of life going on here. Now I have a choice to make. We don't like to normally in between the eyes in such a detail, like with so much in betweening, particularly on twos. We like to open them and close them, like the mouth movements is a rapid movement. But with this character, with this particular piece of acting, I feel compelled to give him a really lazy, after that sneering, like he doesn't really care. And then suddenly his whole world is gonna turn around. So I'm gonna incorporate a little bit of an open eye on him, just to add to that. So already I'm deviating. So I'm talking like an animator. An assistant, an in-betweener wouldn't do that. Why? Because the eye shape between hair and hair, notice how that's not a halfway eye. If his eye is open, if his eye is closed, and his eye is open like this, right? Obviously the halfway would be more something like this. But I've got it very, very subtle, almost like it's a third, right? So I'm already animating into my in-betweens, which is not fair if you expect that from somebody who's mainly an in-betweener level, which is why back in the day they had junior animators assisting the 9 old men. Names today that are well known by people of a certain age, like Glenn Keane, Andreas Deja, even Don Bluth. These fellows were juniors and assistants to Milt Kahl, John Lounsbury, Frank Thomas, people like that. So they were juniors and assistants to those people, and they were not just in-betweening, they were generally assisting them with the mindset of animators, which is why they were trainee. Now I'm just going to do this because it'll look nice, but it's kind of superfluous and potentially wasting stream time. So I'm just going to do the bare minimum, very quick here. The main thing was introducing it. See how, although that thing gains a little bit of volume, it's not enough to destroy the illusion. So placing and tracing and caring too much about volume. Now I have to think about the mouth shape. We have this mouth shape here. Now we've got a very different mouth shape. So am I going to morph it into that? Or am I going to start to introduce that bottom lip? Because we've got this lip here and we've got this lip here. So I have to kind of think about what I'm trying to do here. I have to think. I'm going to stay with the two lips because it's enough of a gap in between. If it was closer, it would look odd. There's enough of a gap in between to kind of, and I'm going to kind of join those lips like that. So here we've got a little dink in the lips, and here we've got a shape like that. So I'm gonna join those together, but keep it curled like that. And we're going to keep the line going on to the end. So we're going to keep it curled. That'll help that. You see, again, if we were using place and trace, we would have missed that opportunity. And while it moves very fast and it wouldn't necessarily show up, but if the whole animation was done with that approach, the whole feeling would be off. And that's why back in the day, the Disney features, the big feature animation, always felt a lot better than the video sequels and the TV shows, which were really cheap and nasty looking by comparison. So here, now I've got to think about this also, what's happening. So this could become this. This is the edge of the face. Now this is the edge of the face. So the edge of the face has become his lip. So I have to think about that edge of the face area. So I'm gonna think about the chin being the edge of the face, like that. So that works. So let's tidy that up a little bit and put in the beard is pointing, but that's all right. That whole edge of the face softens it. So you have to use your judgment. Even when we're going halfway, we don't want to just make the line a halfway line, because now his chin is not as nice and it's looking off model. We want to use a little bit of judgment and say, you know what, I'm going to stick around this shape instead of this one, because it helps sell the illusion more. Now we're going to look at the beard. The beard is a bit of a challenge because we've got the follow-through overlap on there. So let me look at this beard, actually. This beard may need charting. Is that going to be a half? No, the beard will still work on a half. So again, as I do this beard, I have to think about the shape. So like you're doing water waves, right? When I look at this beard, I see this sweeping wave shape here becoming, and the sweeping wave shape is here. Now, this line has to become this line. So we're going to do that sweeping shape like that. And now as I do that, I got to look at the chin carefully. And I got to redraw that chin so it sits nicely with that shape. And that's the subtlety that the rigging animator and the Placey Tracy animator and the AI animator, they will not have those subtleties. It's all very mechanical, all very programmed in there. So the fake animators will never understand these little things. And if you're creating stuff just to be quickly glanced at by Joe Public, that's great, be fake. But if you're, chances are if you're watching this, you're interested in how to be real and how to really draw and animate well to an exceptionally high level. And this is how you do it. So now we've got 15 and 15 to 25, right? So we're just going to do a 10 frame slow in from hair to hair. So let's see how we can see how that works. That face drop is sudden. It's not gonna morph. You're not gonna feel it morphing. I'm moving it slowly as I'm doing that, and even when as I'm moving it slowly, it feels natural. Would probably move at this speed. Right. Now what will really help is the slow in between hair and hair. That's what's going to help. So, this is 9, 11. I've numbered that wrong. Okay. Why I wrote 13 there? That's 9, 11, 15, Okay, you know what I did? You know what I did? Yeah, I gone and did. I taught you. I've made an error here, but I've taught you about in-betweening. You know, let's fix it. And this is why we work on twos. We needed to make 15 between here and here, right? But let's look at the chart and say, oh no, this is what happens when you live stream. So what do? I've got this extra drawing. No deal. What comes between 11 and 13? We can call that 12. So I didn't even read. I'm so excited about teaching you guys that I added an extra frame. So if we look at our chart, we've now halved between there and there, and we've called it 12. Now I'm going to get rid of that later on, but it's great information. I just disclosed to you how to in between there and there. But actually, I was planning to cheat and just jump. And we'll look at it. I'll do the rest of the in-betweens, and we'll look at it with the frame and without the frame. Now, how's that? How's that? Right, so let's go 13. Let's create the real 15 now. So this is 12. Let's create the real 15. So 15 this 15 is going to be a lot easier. I don't have to worry about the turban and all that. It's very self-explanatory. So I'll just do the face. So this 15 is really, really simple halfway. You can see I'm going to really start speeding up here. The eye shape is going to be halfway. Let me just look at that. So that's halfway. And I'm going to see this through to the end, so you can really get a sense of feeling about the timing. And we're going to look at it with that extra frame and without. And I am going to, maybe I'm wrong, but I think it's going to look better without it. But you guys got an extra in-between lesson out of it. You got to see how to tackle squash and stretch in-betweens in a more isolated, with an isolated demonstration. So here, I'm going to be very quickly. You can see this is what I've kind of already given you the information now, so you could just watch me do it. This mouth is easy. I don't have to kind of figure out how to do any changing. And one of the reasons I did that is the timing will be better on thirds than with that half on ones. Funnily enough, I'll tell you a story. My mentor worked with Eric Goldberg on Pocahontas, and he was also worked with him on Hercules. My mentor was a supervisor on Hercules. English animator called Richard Baisley. He came back to England, and I met him when I was 20, around about 20, and I stayed in his house and helped him out on a project, and he taught me a lot. And he taught me about how Eric Goldberg loved Warner Brothers timing, but Disney timing was not as snappy and as sharp as Warner's timing, but he wanted to try and get that timing in the fluidity of the Disney work. So he would work on twos, and then he would throw in a half on ones, kind of like what I've done here. But I wouldn't really want to put that half on ones, but I thought that's maybe I might have to for the beard. Not really, because the beard's a very follow through. Let's do the whole wave follow through and overlap beard thing. Let's look at the arc of the beard. Okay. Can we extend it like this? We'll extend it a little bit. And I want to look at this line and this line and have that come through. Right, we'll just do that face. That's enough. We'll put a little bit of a circle here, no more. No more. It's taking up too much of the stream time. I'll have a look at a chat in a minute. But let's continue to see what's going on. So now we've got 15 going on in there. Let's have a look at that. Let's have a look. So it's getting, the eyes are nice. I like that little eye open actually on ones. Can you see how that head turn from the profile into that? The beard looks good, but we're going to slow in a little bit more now to make it settle. We want it to settle. So 15. Now we've got to do 17. 17. Just a few more frames. So this is where it just becomes a matter of light box. The tighter it is, the easier it is. And this is where people using place and trace tend to screw up, which is why they started to like doing a flash animation or Toon Boom or a Moho or whatever it is, where you just have the rig. The rig will, you know, mathematically work out how to have everything bend and shrink into place, and it creates a very, very stiff, like kind of like cardboard cutout look, which is great for the AI fakers, but it's not going to be not really going to help much for people that want to do this kind of high-end expressive cartoon animation, which is what you see being executed here. So let's put that in there. This again, guys, if you've got any questions that you'd like me to, perhaps there's something you'd like me to elaborate on about the timing chart, about timing or anything, doesn't have to be related. I'm here for you guys. I'm here for those of you who are ready to be real and consider yourself the real deal in this artificial world of fake, celebrating fake art, fake animation, fake everything. It's not just art and animation, everything, fake filmmaking, fake, instant, easy, cook in the bag animation, cook in the bag filmmaking. We love it. We love the real thing. We are passionate about getting good at it, about executing it well. Maybe some of you don't have any grandiose ideas about being a savior of the animation. You just want to fulfill your lives by doing something with your mind-body connection and bring something to life. It's very fulfilling. Okay, so this is 17. We're going to quickly do 19. So let's just quickly do 19, and then there'll be one more and we're done. You're going to see the effect of that slowing. So let's very quickly put in that. And then once I've demonstrated this chart and how it works to you, I'm going to suggest to you a way that you can practice at home by going into the Real Animator Training Library and showing you how we do it in the Real Animator Training Library. And you could try and do it at home for free without joining the library if you want. Obviously, joining the library, you'll get the best, most structured guided way through it with the step-by-step video. But I'm going to show you. There's enough information in what I've kind of disclosed to you with this demo here. Then I'm going to show you a simple way where you can actively engage the information I've shared with you and put it into practice. But it's, you know, I can tell you these things, but what kind of person are you? Are you the kind of person that that is enthused and inspired momentarily by the content, and then you'll quit? You just want to consume more. You'll, after watching what you can of this video, before you get bored, you will doom scroll away onto more content, and then all of this will just be a distant dream. And you won't actively engage and actively practice, and your opportunity to really grow will have gone. So it's up to you. I'm sharing this with you guys. It's up to you to do what you will. If you're ready to be real, be real. If you're enjoying consuming what is increasingly becoming fake content, then continue. All the best. Right, so we have got 17 19, just 21, and then I'm going to hold. So 21 is going to be extremely tight. And some people would even keep going, but these lines are quite thick. But some people would keep in betweening because the line boil creates a more alive effect, having a line boil, even with super tight lines. So this is almost counterintuitive, like superfluous, not counterintuitive, superfluous. I'm almost just tracing it. So I'm going to keep this very, 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 very light. I'm just going to keep this stuff, and then we'll put this here. So we'll get an idea of that. Now I'm going to look at it with and without that frame. So let's have a little scrub and see. So he's here. So can you see now, as we're on 25, we're going to hold for 4 frames. Then we're going to have a sudden expression change. But obviously that needs to be timed. And I'm going to time it, but not necessarily guide you through the in-betweening where it looks all smooth. But again, the concept of smooth. So if that was to play back, let's have a look at the beard. Nice little bit of delay. Obviously it doesn't feel like it grows and shrinks too much. The turban is solid. Excellent. So now we've used 1 second. We've used 1 second of animation to just do a slight head turn. But we've made that second really interesting, really filled with life. We can look at him and understand his personality, understand his psyche. And that's what bringing things to life is. It isn't just merely moving things. In the age of fake, which is what this is, in the age of fake AI content, people just constantly doom scroll. And what they get is what I affectionately call polished turds. They do not want to spend time looking, analyzing. They just want to get it. This is why the meme culture, they quickly read the meme and look at some dodgy bit of editing and they go, ha, 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 and they share it, right? So the AI animation appeals to the average Joe just doing that. But those of us who are engaged with, if you're watching content like this, you're obviously interested in animation and you're interested in improving your animation. You're interested in getting it to feel more alive. So here we've done the slightest head turn, not even a big wild head turn like this. From hair to hair, the classic big sweeping head turn. The slightest head turn we've made last 1 second. And we've put so much personality and character in there. And it's timed to perfection. You know, the slow in, the slow out, we've used a mixture of halves and thirds. And it's a seamless process that I've effortlessly done while keying out the whole thing, the halves and the thirds. Here it feels like the body's kind of lowering too slow. But when the in-betweens are done and the hold is there on the final thing with the double blink in place, it'll make sense. It'll read, and it won't feel all of these things. These keys are the blueprint to great animation, but it's how we time it that gives it that real sense of life in there. Now I'm going to come and talk on the chat to you guys, but I'm going to give you something at home that you can work with, which is better than the imbecilic process of watching a 5-minute video of how to really understand, you know, with some stupid clickbaity title of the one video that you need to understand the timing chart. Okay. Fake. As I said, you can watch the video and look at a ball and say, here's the ball, and the ball is halfway, and then I'm going to put the ball another halfway and it's going to... So you're going to kind of actively do that, but you're going to do it in a more interesting way. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to give you an insight into something that you can do. The first thing you can do, if you are on Facebook, now you don't have to be on Facebook, you can have this for free. You can follow along with me for free. No money, you don't need to give me an email address. I'm not selling you anything. You can follow along for free if you're on Facebook. If you're not, I'll show you another way. Just stay with me, bear with me. So if you're on Facebook, there's this group, AMB Animation, Real Animated Growth, Development and Progress. You've got to join it. You've got to answer a few questions to prove you're not a bot, because we were spammed by bots, and so I put those questions in place. So if you go into the featured section, you have what we call Real Animator Training Preliminaries. Now, if you click in the description, you'll have a little password here, an access password. You simply copy that password. You click on the album link in there. It'll take you to this Vimeo archive. You simply paste that in there, and you are taken to some preliminary training exercises from the training library to give you a feel of the kind of instruction that you get. So here we've got Master the Basic Bouncing Ball. So you have got 1.5 hours. Now, in the earlier streams, I did waffle on at the end of the stream. So we'll say you've got about 1 hour and 10 minutes, right? 1 hour and 10 minutes of doing nothing but learning. I'm going to turn the volume down. Learning how to animate a bouncing ball up and down, and you'll follow along with this video. Follow along step by step, right? You're not trying to draw anything important. You're just drawing. Look how scribbly that circle is. That's the level of drawing you'll need to understand. And you will draw these charts along with me. Look at this chart here. You'll be drawing these charts along with me, actively engaging along with me and learning how to do that. Most people with this one free video have learned more about timing than they did in their 3-year degree, even at places like CalArts. It sounds stupid, but I've had CalArts members join my training library, maybe not from this one video, but from the whole basics archive, coming out saying to me, I learned more. So quite frankly, you've got this whole, you spend a whole hour playing around with that. And if that wasn't enough, I give you another free gift. You've got the basic pendulum swing. So same, here's 1 hour 58 minutes. I probably start waffling for the last, from 1 hour 20 onwards, I waffle. So in the Real Animated Training Library, I started cutting out the waffling, but these initial lectures I didn't cut it out. So these lectures were made about 8 years ago, but they're filled with valuable information. So here you're going to learn how to do a swinging pendulum, and you're going to do what that chart, like I call those fake charts, but this is why this isn't fake, because you're spending 1 hour or 2 actively engaging, trying to time that pendulum and draw your chart in accordance to that pendulum. And just like building muscles, you got to repeatedly do your weights to understand it. You're going to repeatedly go through these things. So if, for example, now hang on, I will show you, if you don't have Facebook, you know, I'll show you something you can do. But very quickly, I'm going to go into the Real Animator Training Library and show you what's in the basics archive about that. So if we go into Real Animator Training, go to ambanimation.com, you can click join now, and you jump into, here you can buy bundles or whatever, but let's just go into the basics. You can buy one archive at a time. In the basics archive, we go through a whole series. So we don't just do one bouncing ball. We learn how to time a ball to make it bounce. We learn how to time a ball to make it jump. What's the difference between a jump and a bounce? A jump is an action, a bounce is a reaction, right? We then learn how to give the ball weight and texture. Is it a light kind of bubble, or is it a heavy metal object? After that, you will move on and learn a series of pendulum swings. A basic pendulum swing, how does a pendulum settle to a stop? Okay, how do we time that? How does a pendulum drop and dangle? How does a pendulum swing? A complete pendulum swing going through a series of movements. After that, you will move on to walk cycles, and you'll learn how to time a walk, but you'll learn the various body parts and the various body part timings along the way. So you'll do that with one walk, you'll do it with another walk, a different walk. You'll go through, so here you see we start learning about different timing charts for different body parts. And each walk cycle is 4 videos. You're not just doing one video and saying, yeah, I did the whole walk, as if you're really going to learn that way. Please. Some people actually think they do. They copy the screen, they copy a really advanced character, they copy it, and of course they're good at copying, so they look at it and go, I did it. But then when they go away and they actually try to implement it in their own stuff, really? Not so successful. So why we treat this like training. We don't call it real animated learning. You do the legs, you do the body, you do the arms and the head, and then you time it on basically jogging, running, walking. So we do it with a run cycle, and then you do it with a front walk cycle, because the arcing is different from the front. And the same, you're always drawing this chart. So what you're doing is you're always drawing the chart. You're always drawing the chart while you're going along with it. Now, if you're just mindlessly copying the screen to go, I just want to get through it and I'll draw the chart and yeah, I'll copy the screen, it's not going to help you. These videos are done in this manner, in a slow step-by-step fashion where you're drawing really simple things so you can retain the information and you focus. That's what real animated training is about. That's what it's about. Then we move on to a head turn. Now, a lot of people are probably attracted to this video I'm doing because they can see Jafar, he's our man, if he can't do it, great, right? They can see me doing this amazing high-grade quality work, effortlessly talking on a live stream. Doesn't matter what the character is. It can be Captain Amelia from Treasure Planet. It can be Chief Powhatan from Pocahontas. If you look at my earlier streams, you see me do the Beast from Beauty and the Beast. It's not a challenge. It's a cakewalk. I'm mindlessly doing it. But the only reason I can do that is because I've drilled these things into my subconscious. And that's what the training library does. So most people will struggle to turn a head turn with the two simple 2-dot eye characters and not have the eyes moving around, jiggling up and down. Keeping consistency on this is hard enough. But they think, they really, really believe that they want to jump in and keep consistency on a character like this. Go figure. I mean, it's common sense, really. It's not, but people still bang their head against a brick wall and wonder why they don't get the results that they want. So here we've got a animation overview. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about the rest of it. That's enough. That's the timing. But the Real Animated Training Library has basic archive, it has intermediate archive, it has a skeletal anatomy archive, it has an advanced archive, and it has a professional archive for people of varying levels. And it's got what we call edutainment archives, where you can watch 56 live streams and you can watch me animate a whole film, 2-minute film, from start to finish over 56 streams, which is much like today's content, what you're viewing now. You're obviously great valuable content, but it's not really structured learning, let's be honest. Right, so a lot of people sell courses like that and they call it courses. Good luck, right? But I like to keep it real. So we've got a number of edutainment archives here. Real Animated Training. Now, I did tell you what you can do if you don't want to be on Facebook, if you're one of those people that are worried about your info on Facebook and you hate Facebook, even though that amazing free information is on there, here's what you can do. You can watch what I've told you about timing charts in this stream, and you can see the examples I've given you about in the Real Animator Training Library in the stream. And you can go away and you can, let me change my screen here. You can go away and let's create a new piece of paper. And you could say, okay, here's some stairs. And here's a ball. Now, I want that ball to bounce down these stairs, right? And roll off the screen. You have to work out the arcs yourself. I've just done something. These arcs aren't necessarily, maybe the first bounce is big, maybe it comes off the edge, maybe it bounces. So you see how creative you can get with this depending on what you think your level is. By the way, it's best to be humble in this regard, right? Especially if you don't know how to draw a timing chart and you don't really know timing. Don't assume that you are better than this. That's the first thing you can do. Attitude is everything. So what you can do is just say, first ask yourself, how long will it take? How long will it take to do that? And then you can systematically figure out, okay, well, how long will it take to get halfway down the stairs? How long will it take? So 1 second, 2 seconds, okay, maybe don't. Make the noise in your head. Thump. Think about it. Think about the rhythm. And then you can say to yourself, how long will it take? It'll take thump. It'll take 1 second to do between here and here. That's 25 frames. Doesn't feel good to me. Maybe it'll take a second to get about all the way down. It's up to you. Maybe you want it to go dump. It's up to you. So let's say it takes 25 frames. So 25 divided into 1, 2, 3, like 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's easy. So each one will take about 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. 5 frames. Each bounce will take you about 5 frames. So you can systematically go and go, well, do I want it on a half? As he's coming up here, what's the up point? If it's bouncing down the stairs, it's going to be more of an up point. Or is he jumping, right? So these are the up points. These are the up points. So if that's 1, 3, okay, 1, 3, 5, am I going to go up on halves or thirds? Probably up on thirds. 3, 5, 7, 9, right? 11. Already half a second is gone because I've got the squash and stretch in there. But now I'm talking about squash and stretch. You see, however experienced I am doing all this, give me a bouncing ball and I'll start scratching my head. The bouncing ball is the ultimate exposure of your abilities and skills. Because there's no fancy drawing to hide behind. Not even a flower sack. It's pure timing. Pure timing. So that's something that you can go away and really try and do on your own. And if I promise you that even if you go away and you do that for just 1 month, every day you do a little bouncing ball exercise for 1 month, you'll start to see some progress, exponential progress. And you have got a little bit of the Real Animator Training mentality inside your system. Because that's what Real Animator Training is. Repetition. Repetition of the real. Repetition of the real things that'll take you to the place that you want to go. The problem I've said, and I always say this, I don't know if she's online at the moment. By the way, she will watch this video. One of my dedicated training library members, she's the woman that talks at the beginning. Charlene, I love your spiders. I want to draw and animate those spiders. Charlene, some of you in the chat know her. Go and look at her Instagram. She's got a spider called Fernando. There are little things about the cycle that I would like to advise her to improve it, but It's so charming and sweet. I just saw it, I wanted to draw it. But I always like to draw Charlene as if it's a role-playing video game. And it seems like I'm picking on Charlene, but I'm not, because Charlene is the opposite. She's getting really good results. So let's say that all you have to do to become good at the things you want to do, real animation, is to simply go in a straight line. It's to simply keep your attention focused on what we call fundamentals. Fundamentals. Now, if it was that easy, why do too many people suck at animation? And why is everybody turning to fake AI? Because they want everything easy. And also, when they're looking, they think, oh, this'll take too long to do all that boring stuff. It's boring. I want to draw the fun stuff. He drew Jafar. I want to draw something. I want to draw anime. I don't want to draw that. Look, I'll watch a video. Perhaps somebody else will tell me how to do it another way. And now I'm going to waste my time doing that crap. Then I'm going to go here and watch something else. That didn't work for me. Oh, maybe I should go back to the fundamentals. Oh, it's boring. I'm going to go and do this. I'm going to go and do that. Oh, damn it. It's probably the fundamental. Nah, I'm going to go and watch it. And then that's most people's life. And then they blame it on that they don't have the skills. They've tried everything. I've tried everything. No, you don't have the attention span. And that means the integrity and the conviction is not there. Now, it can be developed if you really want it. That's the truth. Do you really want it? Do you really? I call it real, everything real. Do you really want to be real? Do you really want to be the real deal and have the real skills? Then there ain't no easy way, because all these people showing you, some of them have half of those skills, some of them, but that's so much better than where you are now. So you would, just to be like them would be enough. But they at least have some grasp of this. And then you go down the rabbit hole, chasing all that information, and you wonder why it's not working out. Basic fundamentals of everything. Color theory. You want to learn color theory. How many people even know the primary colors and the secondary colors and the complementary colors? How many people know what chromatic is, monochromatic is, the value stuff? You go away and learn those things. No, I'll watch a teenager showing me how they digitally painted anime, and I'm going to use the software and copy those effects, and that's a really constructive use of my time. No, it feels nice. That's all it does. It's a dopamine hit. So I have to be real with you guys when I'm sharing this information, and that's what separates me from possibly everybody else within this space. It's as I will not mince my words. I don't care how it might make people feel right now. It's more about how you will feel in the long term when you follow the fundamentals. I've said it before, I'll say it again. You will watch in wonder as the work unfolding before you is at the command of your own hand. I have to pinch myself. I used to dream of working on Aladdin when I was 15. I wanted to be an animator when I was the age of 7. I made it as an animator. At the age of 20, I was working on Adam Sandler's 8 Crazy Nights. I got fired from that job because I wasn't strong enough. And I deserved to get fired from that job. But I kept working. I met my mentor. I became an animation director. I became a head of story. I became a character designer. I did all these things. But you know what? While I was in the industry for those 20 years, I still felt that I was not of the level to animate Jafar this well, or to animate those characters I put on a pedestal. Yet here I am now, effortlessly knocking them out on live streams with no issue while talking to you guys. Why? How? Does it make me extra special, so much better than you? No, not at all. All it means is the fundamental drilling of the fundamental basics put into a systematic program which I created called Real Animator Training. I created that because I wanted to train the young version of me. And I know how, I can't tell you how much joy and personal self-satisfaction it is for me to look at these drawings, knowing that I did them and knowing that they could comfortably sit in movies that I used to worship as a kid. And it fills me with so much joy, and that joy is something that you guys can have. And it ain't that hard. It's just focused time, attention, discipline, and awareness on what it is you're focusing on fundamental, core fundamentals. Everything sits on a strong base. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a little look in the chat at some of these comments. Well, let's see how long this stream has been going on for. The stream has presently been going on for 1 hour 20, so not too bad. Let's have a look at the chat, and then I might quickly, just after looking at the chat, if you don't have many questions, I'll quickly give you an insight into my timing and charting of the rest of this, some of this. And then we will, then if you've got more questions, we'll do more questions, and then we'll call the stream quits. So first we've got Migs Animation, how are you? We've got the Missing Pickle. Obviously now you know what's going on. Era Arconi, good to see you. Silver Sun, how are you? It's crazy how I've been animating all these years without even using charts. I've just been eyeballing and doing the numbers in my head. That's good. If you know about, if you can intuitively space. But the chart should be something in your head. It's a visual representation. The lovely Hervonia Baker, AMB, the forgotten 10th old man. You know what? I love being called an old man. Because in this, even if it's not associated with the 9 old men, to me, it's a wise man. Wear hair, just watching the master. Well, thank you. I'm curious to know, in which movie would you like to work in? My own movie. The movies I'm developing. Alpha Man, Groundhopper in the back. Even the Gracie Goodbear series. This is what I live for now. I do not want to... I do not... The days of... The childish days of me dreaming to work on somebody else's project have gone. The world is my oyster, and... I want to glisten the pearl. To be honest, all of them could have used this help. not the 9 old men, no way. I would still empty my cup just to, sit next to any one of them. I wonder if Amelia does your voice makeup. You mentioned in your comment section that you couldn't sit through watching Jester Till. Why exactly is that? Because it was a terrible story, just awful voice acting, just a nasty film. I worked on it, but even it struggled to get through the animatic when they were showing it to me. Charlie, there's an inspiration of us all follow her example, absolutely. It's all about the journey. Doesn't matter how long it takes. You can work out how to get from A to B the best you can. Yes, and the journey is going to be filled with frustration and passion, but just enough resistance, like it takes to light a light bulb, to keep that spark alight, not to put it out and dim and to fall into the dark depression. Quite right. Okay, right. So that's enough of the chatting going on. Let's now talk about the timing of the rest of it. So, 25. Now, if I look at the action here, the next big thing is this. So I want this to be another... Now, if everybody has their own little rhythm that they time and act and perform in. Animators are actors. If you've noticed over my live streams, you'll probably see that I like to always put in secondary action of anticipation for around half a second or a quarter of a second before a movement. So, what I want to do here, between here and here, is I think maybe I will hold this frame 25, maybe I'll hold this frame for 6 frames. No, we've already held it for 4. Yeah, 4 plus 6 is 10. So maybe I'll hold it for 6 frames, so that'll become 31. So this is now frame 31. So 31, then, so we're going to linger on this thing for about almost half a second. 1.5 frames is 36, I believe. 25 plus 12 is 36. 24 plus 12 is 36. So I'm going to go into the blink and come into this. So I want to think from here to here, 31 to 37. 37, yeah. So I'm thinking that this will be 37. 37. So I want to look at this blink. Now this blink is already practically a favor, right? So this blink is practically a favor. So the blink is the breakdown. So we've got 30, 33. So we're going to have that as 33. And then from that favor, between the favor, which we can call the breakdown, I'm going to create a half. So 35, 37. 35, 37. Yeah. So this is going to be 37. So now what I would do here, because when I look at that, the mouth can be on a half. You know what? I'm going to retime that. I'm going to retime that. It's not going to work. So because I have all the time in the world, say if I was working to a pre-timing, I would knock some time off 31 and hold on that for maybe make that 29 or 27. But I don't want to complicate you there. So I'm going to say, you know what? When I look at that, I want to slow into that end position. So I'm going to make that 39. And I'm going to have 37 here and 39 in there. So when I come in here and I say that this is 33, now halfway in between we've got 35, and then we've got 37 and 39 underneath. So this is now 39. But now what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to see, yeah, 35, his eyes will be halfway open, and then we will slow into that more open look here. So the reason why I did that was more to slow into the eye and the mouth. So I did that extra thing there because I wanted to slow in, to dispose a little bit. So this becomes 39. I was almost thinking of drawing a separate chart for the eye and the mouth, but it works. So now we've got to come down hair to hair. This is the main frame. So if you can look at my spacing here already, I'm 2/3 of the way away. So this has already got a breakdown. So if I've got 39 here, let's say that I want this to be another 6 frames. So 39 plus 6 is 45. So I'm near 48, which is around about 2 seconds. So I'm keeping the seconds in my mind. It takes 2 seconds to get to here, right? Almost. So I might want to make that 47 or 49 to make it exactly 2 seconds, but I feel that it's better to do it like this. So I'm going to go hair to hair, hair to hair is 45. So let's have a look. So because we've kind of slowed, this is already kind of close to this, I can make a big movement out. I don't want to slow out of it. I want to jump out of it, and I want to slow into this. So again, I'm going to deal with, if we look, we're already on thirds. We're already on thirds. And this one here is 2/3 of the way away. So I've scribbled that out. I've scribbled that out in the initial keying. I've done this breakdown, and I've called that 41, 43, 43. That's 45 is that. Yeah, that works. 45. And I've got to look at what's going on with the body there as well, because the body's got a different chart. So this is good. I can show you the various charts. Black Belt Jones. So
43, 45. So this becomes 43. Now, this is now going to be 41. So we have got an in-between to put hair. This is 43. It's the breakdown. This is 45. So we've got an in-between of 41, which is halfway between hair and hair. So a big, like that linear third movement that I told you about, we're working at on a third chart. Now there's going to be no slowing into this because we're going to be slowing out of it there. But before I continue, I'm going to watch the body. So the body comes up. This is 1/3 of the way. The body's on another 2/3 of the way. Again, I've made a mistake by calling this 43. Yeah, no, this is 43, sorry. So 43 is 1/3 of the way. So if I look at the body here, I've got to now say 39, 43, 45, right? So the body is on a half. And 41 will be hair. So 41 will be in between hair and hair. There like that. Then this becomes 45. So big movement in hair, but we keep that thing moving up. So that's why it'll work. So it's getting, I can feel it as I'm talking because it is complicated. It's simple, but explaining it with a character and all the different, it is complicated. So I'm gonna repeat myself now because I don't want you guys to lose it. So let's have a look. So we want to get, first thing we want to do is get from hair to hair. So it's going to be 39 to 45 is 6 frames. So the way that I did it for the head is that I used the third chart. And my breakdown, 43, I put 2/3 of the way away from the key 39. So this is 39, this is 43, 2/3 away, and this is 45, the next key. But if I look at what I drew for the body, I drew the body with 43 being halfway between 39. So let's draw that again so you can understand right next to each other. 39 is hair, 45, these are our two keys, and I put 43 halfway. So this is the head and this is the body. So the head is on a different timing to the body and we slow out for the body, 41. So the same number of frames are being used with, but this is going to affect the speed of how they move within the same unit of time. And again, in real animated training, you work through, there are 6 walk cycles and 5 of them are all 1 second, 25 frames in length. And you learn how in that 25 frames you can make something run, jog, and walk, right? All within the same unit of time. But it's all how you space it to give it the feel, to give it that sense of weight. So that is the timing of this bit, 45. Now we're going to go into hair. I think 47, this is quite intuitively 47. This is a favor key. I don't want to in between anywhere. 49, so this is 47. So 47, 49, 51, 53. I want to slow in a little bit to this. Okay, this is what I want to do here. So I will go ahead. I'm not going to chart this. I'm going to call this another. I'm just going to call this another key. 47. I don't want to complicate it for you. Now this looks to be a
a half chart, but not actually. So let me explain. This is I'm going to call a key, right? So I'm going to say 49. If I'm charting it for an assistant, although it's roughed out, 47 is my breakdown and it's a favor. So 47 is the breakdown. So the head, why did I call it a favor? Because the head is super close to this frame here. Super close. It's not even 1/3 of the way. But if we look at the body again, we look at the body spacing, it's 45, 49, it's a third. No, it's not. Is it a third? No, it's not a third. Sorry, I'm on the wrong frame. This is where we see the spacing. It's halfway. So it's the same thing. 47, 49. So the body is on a continuous half and the head is doing lots of different things. Because while the body's moving, the head is but the body's kind of doing linear things. So it really will add to it, especially because his body has got these shoulder pads. So this becomes 49. So we're at the 2-second mark. So just to get back, to get from our first frame to this frame here, we're at 2 seconds in. Let's have a little look. I know I didn't draw any extra in-betweens, but it's going to take 2 seconds. So we timed and drew in that to do this, but then it's going to take 2 seconds. The rest, all of this is going to take another second. All right, so it took 1 second to get to hair. It's going to take another second to get to hair. Bigger movement, 1 second, little movement, just movement in the face, 1 second. You see how that is. I'm going to read the comment because I'm also hanging around here for questions. If I'm honest, I've given you way too much information to take in one go. But I like to give as much value as I can. It exemplifies how great real animator training actually is. AMB, is it always recommended to do heads and bodies on different? No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. It's everything is down to the performance. I arguably like to try and keep everything on one chart, which is why I like to use this I talk about extremes. I talk about extremes, keys, breakdowns, and in-betweens. A lot of people, even experienced animators, they just like to do keys and breakdowns. They fiddle with too many charts, and their work I think their work is not as good as it could be because they don't really utilize the extremes. The extremes simplifies the chart, meaning the in-betweener has less to think about and less responsibility. By working with extremes, I've got more important frames that I consider to be more like extremes, real key, like the key of keys. I like to explain it like this, okay? You want to get from hair to hair. Here's your extremes. You can go that's boring, right? So we need an arc, right? So that's an extreme. But the thing is that's a boring arc. So now I'm going to put in some keys to make the arc interesting. Let's have an anticipation key here. Here like this. So it's going to go here. But then we're going to need to put in a breakdown about hair. Right. So notice how I'm even putting these 2/3 and a third away intuitively. So now we're going to go here. Then we're going to put another key just a little bit beyond the point here like this. Then we're going to put a breakdown there. And we're going to arc. And we're going to stop. Maybe we'll put another key just a little bit beyond there. Break down to there and then stop back. So the arc now becomes this. And I've used extremes, keys, and breakdowns. This is the real animator way. This is the way where you make the in-betweening as simple as possible. Still, as you've seen, even doing it this way, I still sometimes have to do two charts, but I seldom have ever done 3. Unless you're working with multiple characters. So, extremely important, people, that we want to know how to do one good chart before we start thinking about more. 49, okay. I'm tempted to, if I need more frames, I want to put it on 1s, but I want to jump to that so I want to jump. I'm gonna call that another key because it's such a vital frame. So I'm gonna call that 51. If I need something between there, it'll be 50 on 1s, right? Because it might need a bit of softening on 1s to give it that Disney feel, but we can get by with the. I kind of like working with my own timing. I used to poo-poo on anime a lot, but I broke it down and studied it, and I learned this nice staccato way of working on limited frames. And I think in the world of fakery and AI, by combining the anime lesser frame timing and throwing it in there and mixing it up there with Disney and Warner's timing, you get some interesting effects, and I like to play around with that. So I'm going to call that 49 to 51, and I'm going to put in one favor between there, so 51 becomes 55, but I'm going to throw in a favor there to make that 53, and we need to put a favor between there and there. So just as he closes his mouth here, I'm just going to very quickly draw it for you guys so you understand. So I will not even I will turn off the light box of the previous panel because, we'll keep it. It'll help me define the arc. So, but I'm going to have the nose really close to there. So this is almost, a lot of anime like to do this, but it, Disney do it as well, but it's what's called for here. It's not even 2/3 of the way. I want it to be closer than 2/3. So it's a little bit, it's not as close as an extreme favor, but the beard will need a different timing. So I'm drawing this to illustrate this example to you. This thing is easy. It's easy to grasp, and as I pointed out to you, the dumb videos of 5 minutes of the only timing chart video you will ever need. Whatever, right? So it's easy enough to grasp watching something like that and go, I know it, but actually putting into practice is a lot harder. So even after watching this video, you will have a much thorougher understanding of the chart than just watch this 5-minute video, right? And then you will be a real animator. Yeah, whatever. But still, you need to make the mistakes. You need to put into practice the process of actually doing it. So the head, again, I'm talking about the head being on a favor. Will the body be on a favor? We don't know. So I haven't done the beard. Let's have a look at what that little favor does to that turn. It really adds nice to the closing there. But now, if I look at the body's a big no-no. The body needs a nice balancing act. We need a half on that body. A nice, clear balancing act, which could cause a problem with the squash and stretch of this thing, of his shawl. But you know what? It's that little shawl is, with all the squashing and stretching in his face, that little shawl is like, just for a frame, it's just gonna be absolutely fine because it's a squash and stretch feature. So I'd say it'll be fine. Let's test it. Let's have a look. Yeah, because it's so quick, you feel it rather than see it. Now, I've got to look at what's going on with the beard. So I'm going to look at the beard again. I'm going to want the beard to be, now, we don't want it going like this. We want it going like this. The swinging pendulum that I mentioned in Real Animator Training. The swinging pendulum is the way to do it. So we want the beard to be on a half like that. So the face makes it to its destination a lot quicker, giving the slow in there some weight to the acting. Now we need to do a lot more settling here, especially towards the end. So that's what we see, and that gives a nice little jut to the body, and all the anticipation and slow movement of the body there, the perspective change of those shoulder pads moving in and out of perspective really add to that. So he's like, what? Like this. So the charting of that would simply be, again, 51, 53, 55. So it's all halves and favors in here. Oh, Charlene's in the chat. We did that drawing of you again, Charlene. So you help people out in the stream understand. Yeah, Charlene, I mentioned how inspired I was by Fernando. Just can't stop smiling. Charlene's characters are so cute. They give such an appeal, such a sense of appeal. The funny thing is I feature Charlene in my videos at the beginning, and somebody called those videos, "Oh, these are paid actors. You know, it's fake people. You know, you talk about fake AI. You've obviously fake hired people to talk about your training library." Here's the reality of it. She's in the chat now, and she's at the level now. Yes, she needs to improve a lot. She still has a lot of ironing out to do, but I, experienced animator that draws and animates like this, have watched her journey and I'm now looking at her Instagram posts, and both me and my wife are finding them so adorable, and I'm getting inspired by Charlene that I want to actually have a go at drawing and animating one of her characters. Here I am drawing and animating Jafar from Aladdin by the great Andreas Deja. But there's somebody who I've engaged with who's joined my training library that's beginning to inspire me. And that is such a fulfilling feeling. So again, you have these naysayers. I've left their comments up there on my live streams. Good luck to them. Oh, the people, it feels so fake, those people at the beginning talking. I have no clue about this amazing community I've created. Charlene, Fernando is amazing. Somebody says, what's wrong with the shawl? Nothing is wrong with the shawl, but this shawl I'm allowed to make it squash and stretch, but being worried about volume sometimes, when you look at it in relation to the length of it, in relation to the body, it's gone a little bit long here and then it gets shorter again. But it's fine because it's one frame and it goes boom, like that. My baklava is all gone. Would he eat baklava, or he would probably eat dates? Mamoul is one of the things those guys eat, I think. So here we've got a double blink coming in. So I'm not going to in between anything here. So this is already done. So 57, 59. May even bring it down on ones. If I feel that body is moving too slowly, I may bring it down on ones. 57, 50, 57, 59, 61, 63, 65. Okay, that's it. So 65, and this will make 73, 73 becomes 72 frames, which is 2.5 seconds or 3 seconds. 3 seconds. 24, 48, 72 is around 3 seconds. My maths is terrible, but I think it's around 3 seconds. So so we've got around about from here. We've got, this has just been done in a simple linear thirds, and then I've kind of halved it all the way. So we've got 57, 59, 61, 63. So then we've got 57, 59. Let's call 63 the breakdown. 61, 63. This is third chart. 65, yeah. 67, 69, 71, 73. Okay, so this becomes 57. This is 59. This is 61. This is 63. And this is 65. And this is 73. Now, let's explain to you. Look at 61 and look at 63, 60. Look at 59 and look at 61. Not 61, 59 and 63. So if we go and look at the third chart, it's getting a bit messy. Let's isolate it here for you. 59, 63. These are the main drawings. 55, 73. Now, if you look at 59, he's blinking. Now, if you look at 63, he's blinking. Then we look at 73, his eyes are open. We look at 61, his eyes are open. So we want to have a double blink occur in there, in that little slow in. And everything is, which is why I'm concerned about the body and the head and everything here, because it's the acting and I'm counting on it. But when we look at it like this, it feels a little, to me, it feels a little robotic, but I want it to be a contrast to this big movement. And that's actually, if we look at that space of time, 55 to 73 is 55 to 75. It's almost 20 frames. It's almost 1 second. It's almost 1 second, not quite. Where we have the character settling to a stop. And it's a slow movement, very slow movement. And we've just kept everything. Come on. I'm going to switch back to this because we've just kept everything very linear. So you see the timing is linear, the in-betweening is linear, except for the very end where we slow into this. So everything there is very, very linear in that regard. So that is what I want. I want it to be a slow movement, and the only thing keeping it alive is the fluttering eyes, which are in contrast to the slow linear movement. So then we got 73. Now it's already taken him 1 second to get there, so I don't want to hang there for too long. I may wait around for 6 frames, but probably not. Maybe I'll hold it for 73, 75, 77. We'll hold it for 4, 77. Now he's going to close his mouth. And that's gonna take about 1, 3, 5, 7. I'm gonna do the same thing that I did on the last one. I'm gonna go in a half and I'm gonna slow in here. 79, 81, 83. So this is gonna be 83. You see how we start speeding up? How I start speeding up? 83 here. 83, I'm going to work on a favor, and then I'm going to half out of that and slow in. 85, 87, 89, 91. So we're here 91. 91 I will hold for 6 frames to make that 97. So we introduce this hand here. The guy's on a hold, so I might start introducing the hand. No, I want the hand to come in a little bit slower. So we're going to have 97. So the hand key, we're going to have 99. 101. 101 is good. We'll just have 1 in there. 99. We'll just put that in there and a half, coming in halfway in there. This is just a hand. The body isn't moving. So this is 101 Dalmatians. Here we're gonna look at this. We want this to be slow. This is on thirds. Now the hand is on a half, but the head is on a third. So here the head is on thirds and the hand is on a half. So we've got 105, 107. So 101 to 12 is going to be 113. So 119, 109, 111, and 113. So I want him to be like really hit this pose in 12 frames. So from here to here is going to take half a second. So we're going to hit that frame, 12 frames. So we're going to then go with the hand. We're going to go 101. We're going to go. Why did I put 107 there? That's odd. 105. Okay. The hand is going to be 105. Yeah. So we're going to have. We're not talking. Yeah. 103. 103 is here. So this hand is 105. I'll name the 105 and explain to you in a minute. Okay. And this is all linear stuff with the hand. 107, 109, 111, 113. So 105 is the breakdown. So this is 105. So again here, now you see the timing chart speeding up, and I'm kind of just working it out. So 105 with the head, you can see if you look at his turban looks like it's halfway here, but it's really not. It's 1/3 of the way, right? So it's 1/3 of the way. If we look at this, this is 1/3 of the way. There's room for another. If it was hair, it would be 2/3 of the way. If it was hair, it would be half of the way. So the head is 1/3 of the way away from this frame. Whereas if we look at the hand, it's a different story. The hand, that's that hand, that's that hand. Our hand is plonk in the middle. Now, as we're coming up, we're kind of favoring the angle of this hand, but the space is there. So these two fingers, these two fingers, these two fingers, these two fingers, you see it's halfway in the middle, like that. So that's how we are going to do that. The body looks to be all on half, all half, even halfways. So that's taken about 113, 101, 101 to 113. That's 12 seconds, half a second, 12 frames, half a second. to get from there to there. Now we want to really, really spend time on the beard pull. So this thing here, I want it to be more than a quarter of a second. So I'm going to say, I want it to be, I'm going to push it. It might be too much, but I'm going to push it and say I want it to be 10 frames. 1, 2, 3. So I'm almost around, you know, the 125 frames mark. Almost near the 5 seconds mark. So this is going to be very linear movement. There's virtually nothing, there's virtually no movement in his face. Now I'm doing all these as keys because it's a very distinct action that I wouldn't trust an in-betweener to do. So I'm going to say that those 10 frames, I'm going to work with pure halves. So 113, let's see, 115, 117, 119, 123, 121, 123. Okay, so we're going to slow in. We want to slow in more on that side. Now, what I might do instead is do it all like this. 115, 117, 119, 121. So we don't necessarily slow out because I want these two fingers to, I want to stay in this, I want to hit the pressing motion more so than the, so we're just going to jump into the half with no slow out, right? I've always got somebody on my streams, by the way, always, I'm giving all this amazing information, doing all this amazing drawing animation, and it's actually quite a difficult feat to talk consistently in a controlled manner about what I'm doing while I'm doing it. But I always say right. I have a tendency to keep saying right. And he's constantly like, fine, if you feel big mocking me in the comments and saying right, but why are you watching my stuff? Just next time you comment, tell me why do you watch my stuff? Why does it make you feel so good to say right? What do you want me to know you're alive? I don't know, but it'll be interesting to know what you get out of it, right? So we've got 1, 2, 3 going on here, and now I want this also. There's a bigger movement in the head, but I also want this to take time. I want this to take at least 6 frames. Yeah, I want it to take at least a quarter of a second. So 1, 2, 9. So I'm going to do that on thirds. 1, 2, 5, 1, 2, 7. So we're going to move linearly down. We're going to start to move linearly down. So that's 1, 2, 9. 1, 2, 9. It's going to speed up here because we want that kind of squashing, that mouth retraction. So maybe we'll do that on ones. We'll do half on ones. 1, 3, 0. 1, 3, 1. So that'll come up fairly quick after all that. But the hands aren't really going to be moving much there. Right, so 1, 3, 1. 1. So you see how I switched on ones and twos here, and I used that example that my mentor said Eric Goldberg showed him on Pocahontas, how to get because they were working with very realistic timing with the humans, and the dogs and the raccoon and the hummingbird were more cartoony. So he would have half on ones when they were working on twos. So we have 1, 3, 1 here. Again, 135, 137. We've come down on 4s again rather than 6s. 135, 137. Yeah, then we'll start speeding up a bit. Yeah, 137. We'll just do that on 4s. Here I will do all this on 4s. 135, 137. 137. This is so 139, 141. 39, 141. Maybe this I will actually have 143. We'll put it back to 6. 143. We'll slow in a little bit there. 141, 143. So you see, this is the way how you can start instinctively timing. And I'm using the whole 43 and all that to guide me into how many seconds, because 25 is 25, 50, 75, 100, but then as soon as I've hit 100 I can start again. So 143 is near another 2 seconds. So 43 it's going to take. So if we're starting at frame 100 here, it's going to take it 2 seconds to get to this point with his beard. 1, 2, right? Because it's a slow movement. We want it to register that he's thinking to himself. 143, and he brings that up. He turns his head faster. 1, 4. So very, very slow around here. Now we might want him to turn like that. With a faster movement. So it's got to be quick, and I think thirds, linear thirds is going to make it quick, or half and a slow in possibly. Yeah. No, I think linear thirds is safe, and the hand movements are quite big. So let's 145, 147, 149. Ideally, you may want to switch it on 1s and have it faster, but I'm playing it safe, which is something I need to work on that I'm aware of. Even though I'm doing the super high level stuff, I'm like, I could push it with the timing a bit more, but as I'm giving demos live, I like to play it safe. This timing chart is not set in stone, it's just my feeling. 149. Now we lift it with the finger, so I want to really slow into there. So that's going to be a 10 frame slow in. 159. 159. So then this is all going to be linear halves. So possibly we're going to have 151, 153, 155, 157, 159. So yeah, that makes it 159. That's a 10 frame slowing. Now we're going to kind of come out of that fairly quickly. The breakdown would need to be had here, which I haven't done, with possibly a little bit of a wrist action to make it more interesting. So 159 to 161, 163, 165, 161, 163, 163, 163, and we will work on a third chart there, working 1/3 away. So 161 is the breakdown. No in between. 163, 163. Now this is a tricky one because we're going to cheat the head turn. I may want to just pop straight into it, or I might do it on 1s. But 163, again, when we turn the head, we want to think about turning a head turn being around about 4-6 frames at the very least. So if I just map out a linear 165, 167, 169 like that, 165, 16, yeah. So this will be 165. It's quick, and then we'll slow in 167, 169. So we slow into 169. But as actually this is the last frame, I thought there was more. So I'm going to revise this. 167, 16. What I would rather do as an animator is I would say, okay, I'll have a new 169 between these two, where I'm going to go a little bit beyond the pose. Not too much. We don't want it to feel like that Cartoon Network, that snappy shit that fake AI animation, AI fakery will replicate in a heartbeat. And then this will allow me to do more interesting things with the beard as the beard comes forward, but I don't want the beard to feel too much like it's got a life of its own. So we'll just go a little bit above the point. So this is 169. Now 169, we'll do what I love to do, which is a minimum of a 10 frame. So we do 179, 179, 181, 183. Let's just make it 183. And I'm just going to do this, right? Meaning I'll slow in all the way from there to 183. So I've got 183 frames worth of animation. Offhand, I don't know how many seconds that is, but if I go back to 100 and I go back to 72 being 3 frames, 83 is about 3.5 seconds of that. So 3.5 plus 4 is 7, around about 7.5 seconds, I'm guessing. I'll need a calculator. But the main thing is how I've broken the time down into the frames down into, I always tell you, 24 is a second, 12 is half a second, 6 is a quarter of a second. So you break it down like that, and then you get aware. So I haven't really added any drawings except for 1 or 2 at the very end, but we could see, I can now look at this, and I'm confident that when that one there, that little look towards the end, he may blink in this frame as well. Just add something. So now you, hopefully through watching and following this process, you guys have got a better understanding of real animation, how a real animator times animation, does the timing, and just how complicated animation is. Thank you so much. I have just received a donation. There is a link in the chat if anybody feels that grateful to me for the work that I'm doing, both by creating content in hand-drawn real animation and also sharing skills with you, and you're not quite ready to join my Real Animator Training Library, or perhaps you don't have the funds, but you want to say thanks and shout me a drink, or you want to support my little projects that I do on the side, there's a link in the description. Thank you so much to the regular person, you know who you are, who tends to do it on my live streams. It really does help. Thank you. Now I'm going to have a look at the comments. Now's your chance, because I feel, how many hours have we been at this? This OBS that I'm using doesn't actually tell me. I've got to go to my YouTube. 2 hours and 29 minutes of live streaming. So we've had a pretty decent live stream. I'm going to read the chat, and if there are any questions you'd like to ask me just before I wrap this up, please do. Now's your chance. So I see on the chat what happened. Doing good here. Charlene has been summoned. Okay. I remember that question from Black Belt Jones and about that. So we're going to jump to the bottom. Razaki Animation Studio. I'm developing an indie animated series called Hominin Tales. I love these streams since they help me learn. My show is an anthology about the lives of other human species like Neanderthals. The way you explain the animation process is so easy to understand. That's my pleasure. Thank you so much. I'd like to wish you the very best with your animation and your stream. You are indeed a real animator. You are using the mind, brain, body connection to create from within and express without. And you are certainly very much enthused by the process as opposed to the instant gratification of creating animation and wearing it like a false Rolex watch. So it's a pleasure to have you on my stream and an honor to be of assistance to you as you continue to create real content in this artificial age. How do you decide how many keyframes to have as major keys? It becomes instinctual, but that's why we use the best animators use a mixture of what we call the law of pose to pose and straight ahead. So once again, I'll cover the laws as you learn them in Real Animator Training Library. The first are the 6 laws of movement. So everything goes back to animation law. So the 6 laws of movement. Now the laws in Real Animator Training are taking the well-known 12 principles and making them in a structured way that a hierarchical way that helps you move forward. So we've got the 6 laws of movement and the 6 laws of life. So the 6 laws of movement, we begin with what we did today. The first cause, timing. Slow in, slow out. That's the spacing chart. Then we have arcing. Following that, we have what we call pose to pose and straight ahead. Because that's how we figure things out. So this relates directly to your question. So in the basics archive of the training library, you repeatedly do these things. And then in 5, we work a little bit on follow through overlap. And admittedly, we touch a little bit on what I call a law of life, which is squash and stretch. So it's a little bit of that, but we save that for the law of life. Arguably, follow through and squash and stretch are both movement. They happen and react when something moves as well. But we put more life with squash and stretch than we do with follow through. Follow through adds to the illusion, but the squash and stretch in the facial muscles and features. So hence why I teach it that way. And then finally, solid drawing being the 6th law of movement. So your question directly relates to these are both the foundational basic fundamentals that I talk about. But your question, my friend, Miss Shavarskaya, sorry, my pronunciation is awesome. It's not awesome, it's awful. And perhaps you may be of the same ethnicity as me, which makes it even more awful that I can't pronounce it. So I'm guessing you might be from the name, but maybe I'm wrong. How do you decide how many keyframes to have as major keys? Okay. Now I call what you're calling major keys extremes. And I did that with that little arc thing. So first thing, you have 2 major keys already. Your first pose and your last pose. Now you have a unit of time to get around there. So obviously your arc cannot be like this. That was a really bad arc. But let me use a different color because that color is going to get me in trouble. Let's use this. So you have a second to get through. You got 24 frames to get through. So what's your arc going to be? So how much can you achieve in a second? Maybe I want my arc to be kind of like, I've got to find a kind of midway point of this. I've got to find a midway point, and I've got to think about slowing in and slowing out. So am I going to slow out of my first position, or am I going to slow in? What's the main at the end? Probably I'm going to want to slow in at the end a little bit more. So maybe it'll be nice to have something a little bit closer there. So now my arc becomes this. Okay. But these are my poses. So getting from this pose to this pose to this pose to pose and straight ahead. But then let's say that I want to slow out. I really want to slow out. But I want to slow out like this, right? So I'm going to put another key there. That's a slow out key. Right? Now these could simply be called breakdowns and not major keys. All right? Which is why a lot of people, even those who should know better, just call them, I work with keys and breakdowns. Animation is all about keyframes and breakdowns. No, but seriously, if you want to excel, I would say familiarize yourself with the term extremes. Why? Because there are another 6 laws. We talked about one law, and now I like to shift squash and stretch down a little bit, but admittedly in real animator training, I'll put it the way we do it. But the more I've been doing it, the more I want to put anticipation before squash and stretch. But we start with squash and stretch because I said arguably it's kind of like a nice bridge between the two. So on second thoughts, I was right to put it in real animator training here. So we do squash and stretch as the first law of life. You've got the laws of movement. Just because something moves doesn't mean you make it feel alive. All right? And then we've got, now these are super. If you watch the previous streams about this, which are on my channel, by the way, we've got the law of anticipation. And we've got the law of primary and secondary action. Okay, so we've got those laws. I'm not going to go and explain those laws. The Real Animator Training Library does that, and I've done it on many of my other streams. But I'm going to talk to you how they relate to this. Then we've got exaggeration. And these last few laws are by no means laws to be rushed. These just like these 3 laws, all are the fundamentals. These last 3 laws are the fundamentals of life. Staging. So these last 3 laws are why stuff is good, basically. Yes, it's all good because it's got a lot of these, but what gives stuff that oomph? What separates you from being a really amazing actor to a budget daytime soap opera actor, right? So now, let's say you got this and you want to say, well, he's going to anticipate. So he's going to slow out. He's going to go back a bit. So I'm going to have him anticipate. So that would be another extreme, right? And that anticipation has to have a bit of acting in there, which is why we call it secondary action. Ideally, if you want to put it, how would you anticipate? If I was going to punch, how would I anticipate that punch? Everybody gives you that example, oh, you bring your hand back. But what if you were one of these kind of guys? What if you were, what if I was focused and I just directly hit? This is what an opponent would watch. Would I drop this hand? Would I raise my head? Would I bring my chest forward and then strike? It's all anticipation. But primary and secondary action is the performance. Are you gonna be like Popeye and do this, right? So it's all anticipation and performance. The best fighters don't even show anticipation. We call and tell. I know that. Well, we try to, but the best fighters, I have also been a martial arts instructor, by the way, look for the little signs of even a little shift in the foot. But we're not talking fighting. Fighting for film and fighting for real winning a fight in the ring or the street is two different things. We want things to be bigger in film. So we want anticipation in film, right? So even if I've got like one of these traditional guys standing here who just goes like that, just a little flip of the finger just makes it a little bit more interesting. Of course, I'm talking about high-grade stuff. Beat 'em up video game is a different mechanic. It can be well done, but you're never gonna, if you're gonna take out the anticipation of a fight, of a fighting move for the purposes of playing the game for the hitbox or whatever, then you're lowering what I'm talking. It's lowering what I'm talking about. I'm talking about high-level performance for filmmaking. What makes something appealing? Exaggeration and appeal are those two laws. So we want to. We're not. This is not reality. It's basically enhancing it to make it an experience, and that's one of the problems with a lot of people. That when they make something on film, they want to say, "I want it to be realistic," but you're telling a story to an audience. You want it to be appealing, so you have to make it a little bit bigger, even if you're being subtle, even with your use of sound. Anyway, we're going a little bit beyond what we were talking about here. So you want to anticipate that extreme, so you want that to come back. So that is now going to change the arc to this. Then maybe you want to overshoot and come here. That's going to change the arc to this. So all of this, all of these laws of life and all of these laws of movement guide you in where you're going to be putting your extremes. So your extremes and your keyframes, and then your breakdowns, you can perhaps not change the arc so dramatically, but just make the arc a little bit more interesting. Right? Then if you put a breakdown here, you'd probably want to put another key here to make it a little bit more interesting, and then this would have to change the path of this with that breakdown coming through to the overshoot back here like this. So it's all about the arc, the journey, metaphorically. So that was a great question. So these 12 laws, again, as I've said, a 5-minute video. I opened talking about a 5-minute video of the only video you ever need to understand the timing chart. Yeah, 5 minutes. Yeah, whatever. I like to be dismissive about stuff like that because we're living in fake times, fake instant gratification times, and an art form like this doesn't come. It doesn't come easy. It's a simple process, but it comes over just like anything worth doing, whether it's building a beautiful body, having a beautiful garden, painting a beautiful picture, building an amazing building. It comes over time, and it follows basic fundamental principles and repetitive, engaged, enthused, inspired, motivated action to take you to the end result. But we're living in times of instant gratification, instantaneous results, and it's shocking that there's people out there that want to learn to do this, but they've got the mentality of thinking they can do it instantly without putting in the work. And to them, I just say, look, give up, go to AI, or understand that if you still don't like that answer and you feel uncomfortable, who would? Who wants to be fake? Who wants to be fake? There's plenty of people that are being fake and are celebrating and reveling and swimming in fakeness right now with AI because they think it's fulfilling. They think it's filling the emptiness within. But it's the process. It's the fulfillment. It's the sense of achievement, of becoming, witnessing your own greatness unfolding before you. Very enriching. So that's why I'm poo-pooing on those kind of videos. You're never going to really learn unless you put in the information. Might take 5 minutes to understand, but then switching off from it without engaging with it over a sustained period of time is not going to result in anything constructive. So therefore, if you're spending a lot of time, even watching this lengthy video, and disengaging isn't going to help you. I've just given you more information. You have to break it down and spend, even if it's a little bit of time. Like I said, if you spend 1 minute a day for a year, 365 days, for a year on your hands, doing a handstand, that's only 365 minutes. It's not that much, really, but it's still something, and it will grow and expand. And as you spend more time, you get into the habit. You acquire a taste. You acquire a taste for the finer things. And that's how you willfully spend more time, more than a minute, more than an hour, more than a year, because it becomes, you become it, and it becomes you. And that's how you'll become great. You'll learn to love. You already do love yourself, but you loathe yourself as well. We all do. But by engaging in a one-to-one process between just you and you learn to love the process and learn to love yourself. Love that part of yourself that right now you loathe, which is your inability to do something that you love. And that's what I'm trying to do by trying to be as real as possible and share this information with you in the best way I possibly can. Thanks for the stream. It's been on the edge of learning animation for a while now. My pleasure. This is extremely helpful. Wonderful. It comes from Warsaw. Okay. Okay, thank you. Warshawski. Thank you. I'm doing now 3D animation, and hell, you need to learn everything as if you were doing 2D, and I kind of love it. Absolutely. I was a animation director on Lego The Legends of Chima. I didn't touch a computer, but I've done computer animation before. I used to do everything on stepped tangents in Maya, and then switch it to spline and clean the curves, just as if it was key animation. I would even key my own follow through and overlap, even though they'd tell me to use the dynamics. They'd say the dynamics are better, but say, nah, not for what I'm doing, mate. Maybe they're better if you just want to be lazy. But they would delete my follow through and overlap and use the dynamics anyway. But I didn't care. I enriched myself by doing that. And when I went on to be the director of animation for season 1 of Lego Chima, I didn't use a computer at all. I drew thumbnails and told them to put their send the stepped tangent, I want to call them pencil tests, but play blasts they were called, and look at those. We'd look at those, and I'd draw arcs and tell them to improve that. It's like you need the exaggeration. Absolutely right. So that's it. We have come to the end of the stream. It has been a wonderful stream. Thank you so much to all of you for giving me your time and sharing it, your afternoon, your morning, your evening, your night with me. It's a pleasure. I'm so very grateful. As ever, remember to keep it real. For those of you who are about to draw, I salute you. Paper is king. Never forget to do your basic work on paper. It's not an understatement. You see me drawing digitally all the time. I've spent years drawing on paper. Beforehand, I worked in hand-drawn animation. I even storyboarded for Universal Pictures. The Tales of Despero was storyboarded entirely on paper and scanned into Photoshop. So I still fill sketchbooks. It's incredibly important that you keep that. Paper is king, and I see paper making a comeback now amongst real artists. It's wonderful. These are wonderful times. I like the contrast between the fake and the real. I think that's what it is. Artificial is fake, and it's a beautiful opportunity to have contrast, to stand out and shine even more, to be even more real than you've ever been. That's what this is all about for me. So keep it real, people. For those of you who are about to draw, I salute you. Paper is king. Do your work, not just your work and no more, but that little bit more for the lavishing sake, that little bit more that's worth all the rest. And if you doubt as you must, and if you suffer as you must, do your work, my friends. Put your heart into it, and the skies shall clear. And then from your very doubt and suffering shall be born the supreme joy of life. I see a lot of people thanking me in the chat. Just see if there's one more question. Can I take one? No, there we are. People all just thanking me. Will tell James Van Der Kale, I saw you. I don't know what that is. I don't know who that is. If it's a joke, it's. I wish I could laugh along with you. If it's somebody, I wish I knew who it was. But thank you. Okay, thank you all for joining me. It's a bit something I've inherited from my father. Rambling on too long when it's time to go. Okay, right. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you all on the next live stream.